I never thought a single sentence could end a marriage. But that night, standing in our kitchen with the overhead light flickering like it couldn't decide whether to stay on or give up, I said the words that would change everything. Choose him or your marriage. She laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a shocked one. A real laugh, short, sharp, almost amused. And then she walked out. At that moment, I didn't know that 2 hours later, the same woman would be crying at my door, her hands shaking, her voice breaking as she begged to come back. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how it really started. Marriage doesn't fall apart in one night. It cracks quietly, slowly, invisibly. For months, something had been off with Emily. She used to come home and talk about her day, about the little annoyances at work, about the weird guy who always took her parking spot. She used to sit on the couch beside me, feet tucked under her, scrolling through her phone while half listening to whatever documentary I had on. Then gradually she stopped. She started coming home late, started keeping her phone face down, started smiling at texts she wouldn't explain. Whenever I asked, she'd say the same thing. It's just work stuff. You're overthinking. Why are you acting so insecure? And maybe I was. I won't pretend I wasn't scared. We'd been married for 9 years. No kids yet, not because we didn't want them, but because we were waiting for the right time. That phrase stretched longer every year until it became a wall between us. I loved her. God, I did. But love doesn't stop doubt from creeping in when silence replaces warmth. The name slipped out by accident. Mark. She mentioned him one night while distracted, while pouring herself a glass of wine. Mark said the same thing. She laughed. I froze. Who's Mark? She looked at me like I'd asked something ridiculous. My colleague. You've heard me talk about him. I hadn't, not really. From that day on, his name showed up everywhere. In her stories, in her jokes, in her comparisons. Mark thinks this project will fail. Mark said that restaurant is overrated. Mark listens better than most people. Each time it felt like a small cut. Not enough to bleed, enough to hurt. I didn't confront her right away. I waited. I watched. I noticed how she dressed differently for work, how she checked her reflection before leaving, how she stayed in the car for a few extra seconds after parking, texting before coming inside. One night, while she was showering, her phone buzzed on the counter. I didn't want to look. I swear I didn't. But the screen lit up with a message preview. I wish tonight hadn't ended so soon. My chest tightened. I didn't read more. I didn't unlock it. I didn't scroll. I didn't need to. The confrontation didn't happen dramatically. There was no screaming, no throwing things, just exhaustion. It was a Thursday night. Rain tapped against the windows, soft but persistent, like it was trying to tell me something. I sat at the kitchen table while she dried her hair. Are you in love with him? I asked. She turned slowly. With who? Mark. The silence stretched too long. Finally she sighed. It's not what you think. That sentence. The most useless sentence in the history of marriage. Then tell me what it is, I said. She sat across from me, folding her arms like armor. He understands me. He listens. He doesn't make me feel invisible. Each word felt deliberate, chosen. And I do, I asked quietly. She didn't answer. That was worse than yelling. I haven't done anything wrong, she said finally. We're just close enough for him to text you that he wishes nights with you didn't end. Her eyes widened. You read my messages? No, I said. I saw one. By accident. She stood up. This is exactly why I didn't tell you. You twist everything. I stood too, my voice shaking now. I'm your husband, and I'm still my own person, she snapped. The argument spiraled the way arguments always do, circling the same pain from different angles, neither of us willing to back down. Then the words came out. The sentence I'd been holding inside for weeks. Choose him or your marriage. She stared at me for a second. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. You're unbelievable, she said, grabbing her jacket. I need air, Emily. I can't do this right now. And just like that, she walked out the door. The house felt hollow after she left. Not quiet. Hollow. I sat on the couch, staring at nothing, replaying the laugh in my head. That laugh hurt more than anger ever could. It told me she didn't take me seriously, didn't believe I'd walk away, didn't believe she could lose me. An hour passed, then another. I wondered if she was with him. I hated myself for wondering. At exactly 2 hours after she left, there was a knock at the door, not confident, not firm, desperate. When I opened it, Emily stood there soaked from the rain, mascara streaked down her face, her chest rising and falling like she'd been running. Her eyes met mine and everything about her broke. "I messed up," she whispered. Her knees buckled, and she grabbed the doorframe to stay standing. "He doesn't want me," she cried. "Not like that. He never did. I didn't move. I chose wrong," she sobbed. "Please, let me come back." I looked at the woman I married, and for the first time I didn't know if love was enough anymore. When she stepped inside, the house didn't feel like mine anymore. The rain had left streaks on the windows, blotches of darkness that seemed to mirror the chaos inside me. Emily leaned against the doorframe, shivering slightly, her hair plastered to her face, mascara running down like rivers of regret. Her lips trembled. Her hands shook. I didn't say anything immediately. I couldn't. I was frozen, not because I didn't love her, but because I was terrified that I did. That love wasn't enough to fix what had already cracked. Finally she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know why I did it," she said, looking down at her hands, twisting them nervously. I thought I wanted something else. I thought I needed him. And now—" Her voice broke completely. "Now I realize I was wrong." I could see the conflict in her eyes, shame, fear, and something that looked very much like love. But after the laugh, after walking out, it was hard to trust what I was seeing. "Why didn't you just tell me?" I asked, my voice rough, brittle from nights of wondering what had become of us. "Why risk this? Why him?" Her eyes filled with tears, and she shook her head. I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I felt like I was missing something in my life. And he listened. He made me feel important. The word cut me in a way I hadn't expected. I'd always believed that love was enough, that years of marriage, late nights talking, planning futures together, all of that would guarantee us a safe place in each other's hearts. But importance was something else, something that could be stolen in small, quiet moments that I hadn't noticed. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Emily, do you even realize what you're saying? You walked out on us. You left me alone to wonder if I'd lost you forever. And for what? For him." Her lips quivered. "It wasn't like that. I didn't mean to hurt you. I wanted to believe her. I truly did." But belief didn't erase the image of her laughing at my ultimatum. It didn't erase the image of her walking out the door like she had the power to break us both without consequence. For a moment, we just stood there. The rain had stopped, leaving the air damp and heavy. I could hear the drip of water from the eaves outside. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and insistent. Then she moved closer, tentative, as if afraid I might shove her away. I came back because I realized that what I had with him, it wasn't real. It was a fantasy. It was fleeting. Her voice broke again. "I love you. I've always loved you." I wanted to reach out, to hold her, to forgive her. But the anger, the fear, the betrayal, they were still there, coiled tight in my chest like a snake I didn't know how to calm. "Emily," I said finally, my voice low, careful, "you can't just decide that love is real only when it's convenient. Love isn't a safety net you jump on after everything else fails. It's constant. It's commitment. It's choosing each other every single day, not only when it's easy." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know, I see that now. And I hate myself for making you doubt it, for making you feel like I could leave you so easily." Her words hit me harder than any confrontation ever could. I had never wanted to hurt her. I had only wanted clarity, honesty, reassurance that what we had wasn't slipping away. But now, the clarity had come too late. She took a step closer, her hand reaching for mine. I hesitated, watching her. She looked so fragile, so small against the chaos she'd created. And yet, there was a strength there too, the courage it took to come back, soaked and crying, and admit that she had been wrong. "I don't know if I deserve a second chance," she whispered. "I understand if you don't want me back. I couldn't live with the thought of losing you completely." I stared at her, and in that moment, I realized how much I still loved her, not the sigh version I had created in my head when I was angry or hurt. Not the version that I thought might betray me, but the real Emily. The flawed, complicated, beautiful person who had been my partner for 9 years. "Emily," I said, my voice cracking, "you made a choice to come back. That counts for something. But it's not enough to just come back and say sorry. We have to rebuild. We have to—" "I know," she interrupted, tears falling onto the floor now. "I'll do whatever it takes. I'll prove it to you. I'll—" And then she stopped, because at that exact moment, the sound of a phone buzzing shattered the fragile bubble we had created in the kitchen. Emily looked at her phone, and I could see the dread in her eyes, the same phone that had connected her to him, the same phone that had sent the messages that had nearly destroyed everything. I have to, I should," she stammered. I held up my hand. "No, not now, not tonight. You came back. That's all that matters tonight. We'll deal with everything else tomorrow. Right now, we need to just be honest. You, me. Here." She nodded, collapsing onto the couch next to me, still trembling. I wrapped an arm around her, feeling the rain-soaked heat of her body against mine. And for the first time in hours, in days, maybe even months, I felt a tiny spark of hope. But hope is fragile, because even as she leaned into me, her head resting against my shoulder, I knew we had a long road ahead. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. It doesn't heal just because someone apologizes. Every laugh, every glance, every text she had shared with him was a scar that would need time to fade. And I also knew that the next step, facing Mark, understanding why Emily had felt drawn to him in the first place, was inevitable. For tonight, though, we sat in silence, two people soaked in rain and regret, holding on to each other as if the act itself could stitch the cracks in our marriage. It was a beginning, but beginnings are messy, fragile, dangerous, and I wasn't sure if we were strong enough to survive what came next. The next morning, the sun didn't feel warm. It felt accusatory. I woke up to the sound of rain dripping again, slow and deliberate, like the universe was giving me time to think. Emily wasn't in bed. I assumed she had already gone into the kitchen, probably making coffee, trying to normalize a day that felt anything but normal. I followed the smell of coffee into the kitchen and found her standing by the counter, staring at the mug in her hands as if it contained answers instead of steam. "Morning," I said, trying for a casual tone, but it came out rough, strained. She looked up at me, eyes red, hair still damp from the rain the night before. "Morning," she whispered. Her voice had that fragile quality that made my chest tighten, the kind of vulnerability that can either heal or break someone. I took a deep breath. "We need to talk," I said, setting my own coffee down. "We can't just pretend last night didn't happen. We need to figure out what comes next, honestly." She nodded, placing the mug carefully on the counter as if afraid it would shatter like our relationship. "I know. I want that too. I don't want to lose you. Not again. I never did." Her words should have comforted me, but all I could think about was Mark, the texts, the laughter, the betrayal, Emily. I started, but I stopped, because the thought of asking the questions I wanted to ask, about Mark, about the messages, about everything, was terrifying. What if I didn't like the answers? What if her honesty hurt more than her silence ever could? Finally, I forced the words out. "Why him? Why did you feel drawn to him? Was it something I didn't give you? Something I failed to see?" Her eyes filled with tears again, and she turned away, tracing patterns on the counter with her fingers. I don't know. Maybe I felt unseen. Maybe I thought I needed someone else to remind me that I mattered." I clenched my fists. My chest was tight with a mix of anger and guilt. Anger at her, yes, but also at myself. Had I really failed her? Had I let our marriage become a place where she felt invisible? "Emily," I said softly, stepping closer, "you are my everything. And if you ever felt invisible, I failed you. That's on me." She turned to me, eyes wide, glistening with tears. "I know. That's why I came back. I realized I was chasing something I didn't even want. I panicked, and I hurt you, and I—" She broke off, choked on her own words. I pulled her into my arms. For a moment, the world outside the kitchen disappeared. Rain still tapped on the windows, steam curled from our coffee mugs. But inside, there was only the sound of our hearts beating. We stood like that for several long minutes, neither of us speaking. And then she whispered, "I want to fix this. Please, let me fix this." I held her tighter. "We can try, but it won't be easy, it won't be quick, and it won't be perfect. Do you understand? She nodded, burying her face in my chest. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes. The first I decided, was honesty. Brutal, unfiltered honesty. Not just her, but me too. I need you to tell me everything, I said. Every detail about Mark, every conversation, every feeling. I don't want half-truths. I need to know what really happened. Her hands shook as she held mine. Are you sure you want to hear it? I nodded. Yes, I need to hear it. Not to punish you, but to understand. And maybe, if we survive this, we can rebuild stronger than before. She took a shaky breath and began. It started with small things, she admitted. Lunch breaks, work emails, casual conversations. Nothing serious, nothing inappropriate. I didn't even realize how much I depended on his attention until one day. One text changed everything. He said he admired me, just that, and for some reason, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Special. Seen. I could feel the anger bubbling up again, but I forced it down. This wasn't about reacting. It was about listening, understanding, and deciding if our love was strong enough to endure the storm. It escalated slowly, she continued. Coffee chats turned into dinners, after-work drinks, and every time, I felt important, validated, but I never crossed the line physically. I know, I interrupted softly. I don't doubt that. I needed to know the truth. And now I do. Her eyes met mine, pleading. I came back because I realized that what I had with him, it wasn't real. It was fleeting. It was easy. It wasn't love, not like ours. And I couldn't live with myself if I lost you because of something so stupid, so meaningless. I let out a long breath. It was hard to separate the betrayal from the honesty. But there was something in her voice, something in the tears still wet on her cheeks, that told me she meant it, that she truly wanted to come back, to rebuild, to make us whole again. For the next few days, we tried to rebuild. Small gestures, coffee in bed, walks in the park, long conversations without phones or distractions. We laughed awkwardly at old memories. We argued about trivial things just to break the tension, and we cried together about the mistakes we had made. But the shadow of Mark lingered. Every buzz of a phone made me tense. Every glance at her phone made my stomach drop, and I could tell she felt the same way. Guilty, ashamed, fragile. One evening, I asked the question I had been avoiding, do you think he still wants you? Her face crumpled. I don't know, I hope not. I told him everything. I told him I came back. I told him it's over. I think he's accepted it, but I can't be sure. And that uncertainty, I said, it's going to take time to heal. For both of us. She nodded silently. Then came the hardest part, introducing boundaries. Phone passwords, no private conversations, no late-night texts. She accepted them all, not because she felt controlled, but because she knew she needed to show me that I could trust her again. As the days turned into weeks, small victories began to appear. A genuine laugh, a lingering hug, a text without hesitation. But trust, I realized, wasn't linear. Some moments would feel like progress, and then a glance at a forgotten notification would unravel it all. Yet, in those fragile victories, I saw a flicker of hope, a spark that maybe, just maybe, we could survive this. And more importantly, maybe we come back stronger. Because love isn't just about comfort, it's about fighting through the storm, about choosing each other even when it's hard, even when the past threatens to drown you both. And as I watched Emily sit across from me one evening, her hair tied back, a soft smile playing on her lips, I realized that spark, fragile as it was enough to make me try. We weren't out of the woods yet. Far from it. But for the first time since that fateful night, I believed that we could find our way back to... It started with a message. I was sitting in the living room, Emily beside me, when her phone buzzed. My stomach sank before I even saw the notification. Mark, can we talk? I felt my chest tighten. My hands trembled slightly, and I noticed Emily stiffen beside me. I told him it's over, she said quickly, almost too quickly. He won't come here. He knows. But the message said otherwise. The words, simple as they were, carried the weight of the past weeks, the moments she had been drawn away from me, the nights I had spent worrying, the laughter I had heard in my head long after she had walked away. We need to handle this, I said, my voice low, trying to mask the fear and anger bubbling beneath. You can't just leave this hanging. Emily nodded. I know, but I don't know how to tell him. I don't want a confrontation. I just want to move on with you. I exhaled slowly. Then we do it together. But you need to be honest with him. No ambiguity. She took a shaky breath and agreed. An hour later, Mark arrived. I had seen him before, polite, confident, charming in a way that made sense why Emily had felt drawn to him. But now, standing in our living room, he looked smaller somehow, less threatening. He smiled awkwardly at me. Hey, thanks for letting me come. I didn't return the smile, I simply nodded. Emily stepped closer to me, her hand brushing mine, as if reminding both of us that she was no longer his. Mark, she said, her voice trembling, it's over. I'm back with him, with my husband. I can't continue anything with you. Mark's eyes widened slightly and then narrowed. I thought we had something real. Her eyes welled up. It wasn't real. Not like this. Not like what we have, what we had. And I almost lost the only person who truly matters to me. I can't risk that again. I stepped forward. Emily came back because she realized what matters. Not because you're bad, not because she doesn't care, but because love isn't about excitement or attention. Love is about choice, loyalty, and being there even when it's hard. Mark's jaw tightened. He looked like he wanted to argue, but then he sighed, defeated. I see. I didn't know it was that serious. I didn't mean to— You made your choice, I interrupted, my voice firm but calm, and Emily made hers. Now leave. He hesitated. A final glance at Emily that seemed almost apologetic, then turned and walked out. The tension in the room didn't dissipate immediately. I felt my heart still pounding, my hands still trembling. Emily sank onto the couch beside me, burying her face in her hands. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't realize how much I hurt you, how much I risked. I pulled her into my arms. It's done. He's gone. And now, we focus on us. The days that followed were a mix of hope and tension. Emily tried to rega in my trust, doing little things. Texts without hiding, laughter without guilt, late night talks about nothing and everything. We even started going for walks again, like we used to before the shadows crept in. But the fear lingered. Every time her phone buzzed, I flinched. Every time a familiar name popped up in conversation, my heart skipped a beat. And I could see it in her too, the shadow of guilt, the lingering fear that I might not forgive. One night, we sat on the porch, rain beginning again in gentle sheets. Emily leaned against me, and I could feel her trembling. I'm scared, she admitted. I'm scared you'll leave me, that I can't fix this. I held her tighter. I won't leave you. But you need to understand. Trust doesn't rebuild instantly. It takes time, every day, every moment. Every choice you make now matters more than anything before. She nodded. I understand. I'll prove it to you. I'll do anything. Then came the first real test. A work event for Emily required her to attend alone. She had insisted I didn't need to come, that it was her responsibility to navigate the world without me hovering. I agreed, because rebuilding trust meant letting her live her life. But the moment she left, doubt crept in, images of her laughing with Mark at lunch, walking him home from work, whispering secrets. They invaded my mind relentlessly. I tried to focus on work, on anything that would distract me, but every minute dragged. I realized then. Forgiveness isn't a switch you flip. It's a storm you survive, and I was still in the eye of it. Hours later, Emily returned. She was smiling, tired, soaked from a sudden downpour. She dropped her bag, rushed into my arms, and kissed me as if it were the first time. I survived, she whispered. Without him, without anything, just me, just us. I kissed her back, feeling the warmth return. But deep inside, I knew the storm wasn't over, because love, I realized, isn't safe. And the past, even when confronted, doesn't vanish. It lingers. Shadows of doubt and fear remain. And for the first time, I understood that rebuilding a marriage, after betrayal, wasn't about forgetting. It wasn't about pretending. It was about surviving together, facing the ghosts of your own mistakes, and choosing each other every single day. The real test came unexpectedly. One night, Emily got a call, unknown number. Hesitant, she answered, "Emily? It's Mark." I froze. My heart pounded. I could feel Emily's hand shake in mine. I needed to hear your voice, Mark said. I thought we could— Stop, Emily said sharply, her voice firm for the first time in weeks. There is nothing left to discuss. I'm back with my husband. We're moving on. You need to leave me alone. The line went silent. Then click. She hung up, her hands trembling. I told him everything, but hearing him, it still hurts. I pulled her close. I know. It will hurt, but it will fade. As long as we face it together, we'll survive this. And in that moment, I realized surviving wasn't enough anymore. We had to thrive.